Okay, so you undoubtedly care about the world around you and already understand why recycling is so important. You know it protects the environment, reduces trash, and conserves our natural resources by making materials reusable. But did you know there are ways to be a better recycler? That many of the items we put in recycling containers actually end up in landfills because we didn't recycle them properly. Well, the good news? You can take a few simple steps to make a big impact. Not just in your community, but in our world. Number 1, know what to throw. Only recycle paper, flattened cardboard, metal cans, and plastic bottles and jugs with the lids on, because anything smaller than an ID card doesn't belong in the recycling container. In fact, many things are not recyclable, like food. Used napkins, polystyrene, plastic bags, and greasy pizza boxes. They contaminate and get in the way of the recycling process. Number 2, empty, clean, dry. Prepare your recyclables properly by making sure they're empty, clean, and dry before you put them in the recycling container. Recyclables should be completely free of food or contamination, with no more than a teaspoon of liquid left after rinsing. Just one dirty ketchup bottle can ruin an entire container of recyclables. And finally, number 3, don't bag it. The last tip is the easiest, but not a lot of people know about it. Never put recyclables in a bag or bundle them up together. Bags jam their recycling machines and can bring the entire operation to a halt. Placing your recyclables in the bin loose and separate makes sorting much faster and keeps them from ending up in a landfill. So, follow these 3 simple steps. Know what to throw, empty, clean, dry, and don't bag it, to eliminate contamination and reduce the amount of recyclable material that goes into a landfill. It's up to us. Together, we can make a difference in our homes, our communities, and our world. That's Recycling Simplified.
You know all the good things about recycling. It conserves our natural resources, it helps save energy, and it protects the environment. But do you know how recycling really works? Have you ever wondered what happens to all the material you put into your recycling container once it leaves your house? I'm here at a modern recycling center to show you how we turn ordinary, everyday recyclable items like paper, cardboard, metal cans, and plastic jugs and bottles like this one into reusable raw material like this bale, ready to be used in manufacturing new products. Let's head inside to take a closer look. Well, we're now inside the recycling center itself, and I'm with Amy. And Amy, you're the general manager here at the recycling center.
Yes, sir, I am.
Quite a responsibility, isn't it?
It is. We take it very seriously. At this recycling center, we process recyclables from over 500,000 residents and over 2,500 commercial businesses.
You know, when I look outside this huge window here and see all these things, I know they have names to them themselves, but it looks super complicated.
It is, Lane. This is a state-of-the-art facility with some of the most advanced technology here to help us recycle materials. Things like eddy currents and magnets and optical sorters that help us to sort out things like paper and plastics and aluminum and tin and cardboard.
And then I guess eventually, right, I haven't seen it yet, but eventually the product that you're recovering here actually makes its way back into the community.
Absolutely. So everything we do here is to help support the community in creating a more sustainable environment.
Wow. Well, you know, it all sounds great, but I want to see more.
All right. Well, let's go take a look.
All right. I'm with you. The tipping floor is where it all begins. Recycling trucks haul their loads to this part of the facility and empty them out to be sorted. Well, I'm here with Guillermo, and Guillermo is the operations manager here at the Plano Recycling Center, and that's a pretty big deal.
It is.
Let's go look at some of the material that's in here, because when I first look at this, right, they came from a residential, right, neighborhood probably?
Absolutely, yeah. This looks like residential material. You're going to see a blend of good recyclable materials and some prohibited or contamination.
It almost looks similar to what goes to the landfill.
Just by looking at it, there's good material. We got paper, we got cardboard, we got aluminum cans, we got PET bottles, but I'm also seeing a lot of contamination. I got plastic bags, grocery bags.
All right, so no, we don't want this.
This is a no.
We want only the key materials we can recycle. Paper, cardboard, metal cans, and plastic bottles and jugs.
Here's a good example right here.
That is a great example. So
I made my sandwich with mayonnaise this morning and I didn't clean it out and I threw it away. No?
Nah, that's a big problem. We want the plastic, right? I mean, for sure, this is PET. The problem is that it has all kind of leftovers in there.
So what do I do as a customer with this?
It's very simple, man. Before you put it in your bin, just rinse it. I mean, I'm not asking you, put soap in there and take 5-10 minutes just cleaning it, but just try to keep it empty, clean and dry. So just rinse it up with water. Usually, I shake it a little bit, let it go, and then you're good to go.
It's important that we keep all recyclables empty, clean, and dry of all food and liquid. Just one dirty ketchup bottle could contaminate other recyclables in your container and in other places throughout the recycling process.
First of all, we want the recyclable material to be loose. Don't bag it, all right? Unfortunately, we're still gonna get it like this. And what we have to do manually, once we feed this into our system, on our pre-sort station, our sorters are gonna have to cut it open to find out what is inside. Okay. We might be lucky, like in this case, it seems like it's really good material. I got PET, I got cardboard, I got aluminum, I got HDPE. Looks like paper and more plastic. So it looks good, right? But at the end of the day, look, I got another bag on the floor that doesn't belong here.
This is no.
This is a no-no.
Okay.
So that's why we're asking, just keep it loose, don't bag it, just put your recyclables in the bin.
Then, heavy equipment loads the contents onto a conveyor belt. As the material goes down the line, sorting specialists separate the trash that can't be recycled, like yard waste or dirty packaging, even furniture and clothing.
This is our pre-sort station. It's actually the first station where we are going to start pulling certain material and a lot of contamination prohibited from the stream. There's a lot of non-recyclable that these guys have to pull from the stream. They're going also after the rigid plastic and the scrap metal. So these guys stay busy all day long for sure.
In a high-tech facility like this, we can process up to 350 tons per day when everyone recycles properly. But if our recycling stream gets contaminated with non-recyclable waste, it slows down the whole process.
Look what we found. So first, a bunch of cables, and then this looks like a rug.
Oh, so someone actually put that in the recycle bin.
Somebody did. So somebody thought that was recyclable material and they sent it to us.
Wow, so actually what it does is it not only slows this down, but it potentially causes problems for our machinery.
Absolutely, you saw the size of that rug, so that can jam the equipment. If these guys are not paying attention and for some reason ended up going into the screen, that's gonna get jammed and that's gonna cause downtime. And that's definitely something that we don't want to go through.
Based on the size and weight of the cardboard, it automatically gets diverted to different sorting areas. You want to make sure your cardboard boxes are clean and flattened before placing them in your recycling container.
After the pre-sort line, the cardboard gets separated, it goes up, and then it comes down here, right?
That is correct, yep. Right. And it comes down here to this chute. This is actually the quality control line for cardboard. So as you can see, we got the sorter just pulling the prohibiteds and contamination from that stream. Because again, there might be some things that doesn't belong to this line. So they're gonna be pulling all that, putting them on those chutes where that material belongs.
As the line moves on, sifters continue to do their work, shaking out material for recycling.
So we talk about cardboard. Now let me show you what we do with paper.
All right.
Special machinery called optical sorters and tumblers pull paper products from the line and sort them into large and small pieces.
So it's a great piece of technology that uses air and light to recognize some specific materials. So the first four that we have on site are just for paper and cardboard. So the whole concept is there's a computer, a scanner, it recognizes the material that it's going after, and then as the paper goes through, it's like a valve log with air nozzles. You know, the computer already told the air nozzle or the valve, hey, you know, this is your piece of paper. So as the piece of paper goes through, it's going to shoot air up, and then the piece of paper is going to get diverted into a different line.
So the machine actually sees what it is and identifies it.
Correct.
Wow, and then the air shoots it and separates.
Plastic also gets separated out using equipment specifically made for the job.
As you might be familiar with the plastics 1 through 7, we got 3 optical sorters dedicated for a specific plastic. The first one will go after the PET, the water bottles. The second one will go after the HDPE, which is your milk jugs or your soap bottles, detergents. And the last one is going after plastic number 5, which is polypropylene, a lot of food containers, your yogurt cups, things like that.
Powerful magnets are strategically placed to separate metals from plastic and divert them to their correct destination.
After, you know, we separated all the plastics, at that point we have all the metals and aluminum cans left on the stream. So first of all that material will go through our magnet belt. The way it works, you know, it has a magnetic field like in the center of the belt. The tin cans are going to get attracted, and at the end, the tin cans will fall into a bunker. The storage bunker is ready to be baled.
Okay, and then they get here.
And then it gets here, right? So at this point, we got the eddy current, and it's going to go after, you know, the aluminum cans. So it creates like a current, and it creates a magnetic field. It's going to repel the aluminum can. Okay, so it's not attracting them, it's actually repelling them.
So it's actually pushing it off of the belt over into this side.
Correct.
Don't you feel like trying to catch them?
Oh man, I love this piece of equipment.
At this point, we take another pass at picking out all the cardboard by hand, and we suction up all the loose plastic bags that are still there. Plastic bags get caught in the machinery, causing delays and damage to the equipment. All of these automated procedures are controlled by the touch of a button, using a portable tablet that works anywhere in the facility.
There's so many belts. There's so many screens. There's so many sorting devices, optical, etc. Actually, changing one would seem to be a lot of work.
This is something that we can do from here with this tablet. I just need to walk with this to a specific area, and I can make any kind of adjustments to the speed of a conveyor, the angle of a screen. I can check the temperature of the motors. I can start my baler. I can start the system, shut down the system. Maybe a jam, right? So one of the belts will stop. You know, it will trigger an error. The system will shut down, and then it just be it will be up to me to look at the alarms, see what the problem is. We'll go to the specific area, and then we troubleshoot it, and we keep going.
Do you ever play any like solitaire or any video games on it?
I have not, but you know, I mean, you're giving me a good idea.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I'm just saying.
Maybe a break or lunchtime, I can go for it.
So this is sort of end of the line, is it not?
It is, yeah. At this point, you know, all this material is already going to a storage bunker and is ready to be baled.
Baled. Let's go look at the baler.
Let's do it.
At the end of the line, paper and cardboard are sent to machines that press the material into big block-sized bundles called bales. These machines can bale up to 50 tons of paper and cardboard an hour. Plastic and aluminum are also pressed into bales. We stack and organize all the bales so they're ready to be shipped out.
This is the culmination, isn't it?
It is.
Kind of the final product, our last touch.
It is.
And explain to me what's happening here.
Okay, so once all these commodities, all this material has made it through our pieces of equipment, it goes into storage bunkers, right? And then from there, we got the ability to send all that material to either the single ram baler, the 2 ram baler.
All right, so 2 balers.
We got 2 balers. This one right here, we relied on this especially for cardboard and paper. As you can see, these are bales of clean cardboard, and they look pretty good. We got a bale dresser, which is doing right there on the other side, is making sure that there's no prohibited contamination. And then this material is ready to be stacked or be ready to be put in an outbound trailer and send it to a paper mill.
Wow, so how heavy is a typical cardboard bale?
A typical dry cardboard bale could be about 2,500 pounds. We're compressing a lot of material right there. Like on an outbound trailer, we just put between 15 and 16 bales per truck.
Those are like a tractor trailer, right, that's hauling that out of here.
Correct.
The bales are then bought by manufacturers that will further break down the materials in different ways, such as melting the plastic into liquid. That allows them to use the material in making new materials and products. These days, we see lots of products that are totally or partly made from recycled materials, including electronics, airplanes, and even clothes.
This is not the end for this material, which is the most important thing. You know, I mean, from here, it's going to go to paper mills where, you know, I mean, they're going to be making new material, new paper, new cardboard. Or in case of the plastic, you know, I mean, we got customers that can make carpet and can make t-shirts, a lot of stuff out of recyclable material.
So most likely that bale right there, right, what's in that bale, I might touch again.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You know, I mean, just a fun fact, you know, I mean, like aluminum cans, you know, it takes about 60 days from the moment that you put that can in your recycling bin to the moment that it will be, you know, I mean, back in the market. So it comes to a place like this, we sort it out, we bale it, we send it to our customers, and they're going to produce, you know, new aluminum, and then you're going to go there and
2 months.
Yeah.
2 months, I throw it in the recycle bin, and then maybe I'm holding that and drinking out of that can again.
Correct.
Dude, that's more than fun.
It is.
It's an awesome fun fact.
Recycling creates a circle called the recycling loop. It starts with collecting recyclables and then turning them into new products. When people buy these products made from recycled materials, we say they are closing the recycling loop.
I really appreciated you taking the time and walking us through today.
No, it was my pleasure. I'm glad you came in, you enjoyed, you have a great time, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Dude, and I will.
All right, man.
Thanks a lot.
Not a problem.
And that's how a recycling center works. Not only does recycling help keep our towns and neighborhoods clean, it turns used plastic, paper, and metal into all sorts of other products we use every day. Remember, you can make a difference in your school, at home, and in your community by recycling and helping others become better recyclers. We all know how important it is to recycle as much as possible. But when we can't recycle or reuse things, we place them in the trash, and a garbage truck picks it up and takes it to a landfill. Now, when you hear the word landfill, you probably picture a big giant heap of foul-smelling garbage somewhere. But a modern landfill isn't what you might think. In fact, I'm standing on one right now. So how does it do that? Well, let me show you. It takes the work of dedicated professionals, environmental engineers, land planners, surveyors, and city officials to plan and operate a landfill that keeps our communities clean and environmentally safe and ends up looking like this. A modern landfill is carefully designed to protect the soil, air, and groundwater around it, preserving the surrounding environment for generations to come. This is Dave, and he runs the landfill. Dave, can you tell me a little bit about how it all starts?
Sure, Lane. You want to hop in?
Let's go. So Dave, what is the role really of the landfill as it relates to the community?
They all rely on us to make sure that their trash is disposed of in a safe and environmentally protective manner.
Tell me a little bit about how the landfill functions. I mean, what do you do with all the waste?
Well, this is a large landfill. We have about 750 acres here. About half of that, 360 or so, is the actual landfill footprint. So the balance of the property is set aside for buffer zones and wildlife habitat and floodplains and those type of natural devices around the site.
Once a site is selected, it's carefully prepared in stages, one section at a time. These sections are called cells. Cells start underground and eventually rise above the surface. So they need to be excavated, graded, and ventilated before they're ready to operate.
So Dave, how do you prepare a landfill? Seems like a daunting task because it looks like you guys moved a lot of dirt.
Yeah, normally it can take a couple of months in order to be able to fully excavate a cell and get it ready and prepped for the lining system.
Then a liner is placed in the cell, covering the bottom and sides to protect the soil and groundwater outside.
It takes planning.
Yes.
There's a lot of engineering in this.
Tremendous amount of engineering. Some of the other technical hydrology and geology is involved. Engineers get involved in the planning phase of this, and when do we build it, how do we build it, all the testing that's done. There's a very strict regimen of soil testing and liner testing that's done to make sure that the liner is impermeable.
Once the cell is created, it becomes the entry point of the landfill, where the trash is dumped and covered each day. And that's called the working phase. It's actually a very small part of the overall footprint of the landfill itself, and that's actually done on purpose. It's actually done to minimize blowing debris and also contain trash and odor. When I look at the working phase, proportionally, how big is the working phase versus like the rest of the landfill?
Oh, if you think about it in terms of a working phase is just a little postage stamp on an envelope. It's generally less than 2 acres. And in this particular case, it's about 300 by 400 feet.
Yeah. And how much waste gets brought in here on a daily basis?
Well, today is a busy day. We'll do about 4,200 tons, about 750 to 800 garbage trucks by the time the day's through. All the loads, as they're brought in, they're systematically dumped at the toe of the working face. And as you can see, the dozers spread it. We try to spread it in thin layers and then get multiple machine passes on it, 4 to 6 times over it with a 125,000 pound compactor to drive as much density and compaction as we can.
Wow, so it's all about pushing the trash down.
Yeah, crushing it into as small a space as possible. If you think about it, you put your can out on the curb at about 50 pounds to the yard. We put it in a garbage truck and bring it out here at about 800 to 900 pounds to the yard. But when we dump it out on the ground here and pack it with our packers, this is going in the ground at about 17 or 1,800 pounds to the cubic yard.
Wow. Wow, and those compactors weigh how much?
About 125,000 pounds apiece.
Wow. So could you lift it?
No. I could try, but no.
At the end of each day, the waste is covered with a plastic liner and dirt. The liner is like a giant sealable sandwich bag that helps control the odor and accelerate the decomposition process. Cells last several years before they're full. Engineers and city officials follow environmental rules and guidelines for landfills. And thanks to their protective layers, collection systems, and regular testing of the surrounding air, soil, and groundwater, they keep the environment safe.
I'm here with Adam, and he's the environmental manager here at the landfill. And you're here full time.
Yes, sir.
So there must be a lot to manage from an environmental standpoint. So what does that all include?
So we're trying to do everything we can to protect the environment. So your drinking water, our air, making sure that we're not putting anything out into the environment that could be harmful.
Minimizing waste and odor and air pollution are major priorities for the landfill.
Plus it's sustainable, right? We really want to be sustainable into the future, right, with our controls and practices. And I know one of our practices is actually this vapor system. Can you tell me how that works and how that controls the odor?
At a modern landfill, odor neutralizing liquid misters and air-powered vapor systems surround the site to minimize odor of the working phase, as well as key areas throughout the property that protect nearby communities. The water used to minimize the neutralizer comes from the landfill's stormwater retention or reclaimed water, so none of it is taken from the community's water supply.
So we actually take a chemical and we run it, we heat it, and then push it through a blower, and it runs through these lines along our wind fence, and it's invisible and it has no odor, and it binds to the molecules of the odor forming, I guess, odoriferous chemicals and compounds and degrades them. So there's nothing that goes beyond the fence.
I can hear it, but how do you make sure it's actually working?
So you can hear it, but you can also test with grass or something like that to see it flutter and then let it go.
Dude, it's super technical too.
Yes, sir.
If you were to guess, right, there's probably a lot of tasks. You don't do them all, but if you lined up those daily tasks, I mean, how many are we actually doing?
I would say between 20 and 30 daily tasks, just checking on everything as part of our permits, and then making sure that we're controlling any wind-blown waste, odors, anything like that.
Wow. Almost sounds like a full-time job.
Yes, sir.
Large fans are often used to blow air in a certain direction, ensuring that the odor stays contained within the working phase. As the day proceeds, landfill workers measure the odor to keep it under control and patrol the area to collect any loose trash that might have blown away from the working phase.
Earlier, we were talking about cell construction, right? How you guys build it and all the liners. Actually, that cell is creating two byproducts. One of them is liquid and the other is gas. And that's what these are, right? These are wells?
So as we fill the landfill up, we make this large column of waste. The decomposition makes gas. So we drill down through from the top, and then we put a slotted pipe down with rock around it, and then put a vacuum on it, just like you'd vacuum at home to suck the gas out.
These cells capture the gas and liquid that are produced as trash decomposes. Pipes, filters, and pumps are installed to prevent the gas and liquid from getting back into the environment.
Why are these gas wells so important?
Because if we weren't to capture all of the gas, we can have migration issues to where we can impact groundwater, they cause odors. We're trying to be good stewards in our community.
You know, one of the exciting things about these wells and collecting methane is we actually take this methane and we create natural gas.
Absolutely.
And what do we use that natural gas for?
So we return it back into the local pipeline grid.
Wow, so the community, our surrounding community that is, actually receives the natural gas that we're converting from methane.
That's correct.
You're a genius. Let's go look at the plant.
All right.
Large pipes collect the gas, and pumps send it to plants located on the landfill. The plants convert as much of the gas as possible into renewable energy that helps power the homes and businesses in our communities. Any excess gas that can't be used is burned off safely at a flare, 20 feet above the ground.
So this is where all the gas goes after we pull it up out of the ground. So when we start to bring it out of the field from the vertical wells, we end up with about half methane, half carbon dioxide. And there's some other things in there, but those are the primary things. And what we're after is the methane. So when it comes in through our header line, a large pipe, it gets compressed and run through membranes, and the membranes strip out everything but the methane, and what comes out of the plant on the other side is about 99% methane and natural gas. We can put it back in the local grid. So when we bring in the raw gas and it gets run through the membrane, what we have to do is combust all of the byproducts to keep them from getting into the atmosphere. So we run to this tox flare, so that gets rid of all the byproducts when the plant is running, so we can send clean gas out the other side. And then when the plant has to go down for periodic maintenance to keep it running at optimal level, we've got another flare that combusts everything.
Right. So actually 2 flares doing 2 different things.
Yes, sir.
But both very environmentally sound.
Absolutely.
The liquid that is produced as trash decomposes is called leachate. The cells capture the leachate and pump it to tanks, where it is tested and treated to ensure that it is environmentally safe.
So this is the second byproduct. We talked about gas, which is a little bit higher. Is there something, reference the engineering, with having leachate lower than the gas wells?
Yes, sir.
How does that work?
So the idea being the liquids are making their way down and the gases are making their way up.
So it gets extracted here, and then where does it go from here?
So it goes to leachate tanks that we've got. We've got large storage tanks, which you can see behind us. And then also we've got certain portions of it that we have to run through a pre-treatment plant before we can discharge it to the sewer, where the sewer goes to a wastewater treatment plant, which they treat it there. It's a byproduct of kind of degradation of all of the trash. So trash juice, stinky water.
So we treat it, we clean it up, we send it to the sewer,
Sure.
it goes to the wastewater treatment center, and it gets cleaned up more.
Absolutely, we're trying to have as much environmental protection as we can get.
So even though landfills contain trash that wasn't recycled, they actually do some recycling of their own.
Dave, you know, there's so many things going on at the landfills. One of the things I think of is we actually can collect rainwater, right? That we kind of give back the clean water to the people itself. I think of food waste and organics, right? To feed animals. What else can you think of that goes on?
Well, composting is another thing commonly done at landfills, where that can be used for the farmers to help grow food. It can also be used in landscaping. There's just all kinds of uses for it. Now what we have here is our mulch operation. So things like tree trimmings, Christmas trees, bagged leaves or grass, things like that that come into the landfill are run through a tub grinder where it's ground up into mulch. And then this mulch is processed and dyed like they're doing back here. And that dyed mulch is then returned to the marketplace and taken out and bagged and works its way into the landscaping stores and into people's front yards.
You know, as you can see, we just don't take garbage in and bury it and put it in a hole. We actually reuse a lot of what comes in.
That's right. Between the mulch and the concrete at this location, about 400,000 yards of mulch a year of green waste is kept out of the landfill, and about another 500,000 tons a year of concrete is kept out of the landfill through our concrete recycling project.
That's amazing.
Even after a landfill is closed, it's monitored for as long as 30 years to be sure it's safe. In several places around the country, closed and covered landfills have become parks, bike paths, and even golf courses.
You know, as you look back on your career, spending years and years on the landfill, what kind of sticks out to you on what's changed, right? How has the landfill kind of evolved from then to now?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I thought about that 30 years ago when we landfill, we paid most of the attention was to just dig the hole and get it covered. There was still some environmental protection to it, but it wasn't the top focus at the time, you know. But as time's gone on, you think about now we have protective systems, composite liners. We care about monitoring groundwater and gas production. We have environmental professionals working in the business now, engineers, hydrologists, geologists. I mean, all that has just really raised the game in the landfill industry.
Yeah, and I see, and maybe you saw too, that really the relationship has changed between the landfill and the local community, and in some sense the community has kind of gotten closer to us, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, and years back we were out in the country, nobody really wanted to associate with the landfill. They maybe went there on the weekends, that was it. But as things have grown and we've become urban landfills and we have lots of neighbors, we've become a part of the community, and we've had to become a part of that community to really be able to provide them the service that they need and still not have an impact on their lives.
And it's a little bit about, at least what I've heard, is kind of coming up with solutions together. Does that make sense?
Yes, we spend a lot of time talking back and forth to see what's important to them, and then we build our fill sequences and designs to be able to fit in with what's important to the community.
I'll tell you, I've had a lot of fun, and thanks for taking us through it.
Well, thanks for coming out. We're glad you could become a part of it.
I bet a landfill isn't quite what you thought, is it? It's an amazing operation that turns waste into beautiful green space and environmentally safe energy. Good to know we figured out how to use science and technology for the benefit of our communities.
One of the most exciting developments in this operation is that we're in the process of constructing a system to use that landfill gas to generate electricity.
Once you place waste into a cell, anywhere between 6 and 18 months after it's placed, it starts to decompose and it creates what we call landfill gas. Landfill gas is basically made up of 50% methane, 40% CO2, and then about 10% balanced gas with under 1% oxygen. So once we start to emit that methane gas, or that landfill gas as we call it, it does have the potential to get into our atmosphere. What we do is we construct horizontal pipelines and vertical pipelines that are under vacuum throughout our entire landfill, and we actually collect that in a vacuum. So we test our landfill emissions every 6 months to ensure that we're not emitting those harmful gases back into the atmosphere.
On the gas to energy project, I think this is extremely exciting. from the engineers. The engineers tell us that the garbage that was placed in the landfill today will continue to produce gas for 40 to 60 years. So we have a natural gas well out here, and we are adding 700 tons to that every day. So we have this tremendous resource.
Every 30 feet offset between the peaks and valleys of the landfill, every 30 feet in elevation has to be a gas pipeline. And we've been collecting gas out of those pipelines since 2010, at which time we were required to start burning that to burn off the NMOC, which is non-methane organic compounds. We have to burn that off at a certain temperature to reduce the air pollution.
Basically, this is where the gas to energy project hooks up. It takes that gas that's being vented or wasted and burn off. It takes that and develops energy.
We're going to bypass the flare system, which burns it now, and run it to a generator building where we're going to have right off the bat two 1300 kilowatt generators. They're fired off of reciprocating engines, or basically a converted locomotive engine converted over to natural gas from diesel. We looked at the possibility of using that electricity on site, but our demand for electricity just wasn't that high. We just don't use a lot. Most of our stuff is run off diesel remotely. You know, we have the office building and the shop, but we just don't use it very much. So we're actually going to sell that power back to Idaho Power.
All of the forecasting shows that we will return a profit. Now that will be over the course of 20 years, but it's good to know that we're taking something that would just be burned off into the atmosphere. We're taking and we're producing a product that everybody can use.
Over the 20-year power purchase agreement, we will sell back to Idaho Power over $35 million of electricity. This is probably the project that you're going to remember for a long time to come. There are a lot of people that do landfill gas to energy. The way that we're doing it is unique. We're paying for it, and we're going to recoup all of the benefits. We're not subcontracting the operation out. We're not subcontracting or selling back the energy to somebody else. We are building the facility, we're generating the power, we're using the byproduct that we're generating, and we're recouping that benefit for the district. That's exciting. We all take pride in what we do, and we want to do it right, and we don't only want to do it right for us, we want to do it right for all of our community members. Everybody has a stake in what we do, and we understand that. That's why it's so important to do a beneficial use project with our landfill gas to energy project.
It's the philosophy of this organization that we take care of those hazards in an environmentally responsible way.